Hi, this is Judy Krause. I just am doing my first live video, scared to death, of course. But the reason that I'm doing this video, and in case you don't know my story, I try to help people who have been abused to get up and get on with their life. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today is your comfort zone. We all have a comfort zone, every one of us. We all come from a family or wherever we lived, whatever our childhood was. That's our comfort zone. It is not always a good place. It's not always a happy place. But we'll always retreat to our comfort zone, no matter what, until we change where our comfort zone is. I was raised in a severely alcoholic family. I had two grandmothers that, and I always joke about this, that they could drink a boatload of sailors under the table quicker than any two women you've ever met. All my aunts, uncles, cousins, my brothers, my father, everybody. My mother and I were the only ones that didn't drink. So I went out and I made a decision at 17. I was never going to drink. I was never going to smoke because I didn't want to be like those people. But not 2 years later, maybe 3. No, it was 4. 4 years later, I turned around and I married an alcoholic. That's what we do. That was my comfort zone. The only people that I know were alcoholics. They were the ones I was comfortable with, even though it was painful to be there. That was all I knew. And that's where we always go back to. It took me a lot of years to change what my comfort zone was. And that requires working on ourselves. So many people in life don't want to work on themselves. They just want to have everything be right or happen. But you have to work on yourself. You have to look at yourself. I spent a lot of time in Al-Anon, and they teach you 3 very important things called the 3 C's. That you didn't cause the problem that the alcoholic in your life has. That, I won't be able to say it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it. And it's the same with us. No matter what mistakes we make in life or what we do with our life, though, that's our responsibility. And so we need to look at that. And I had to look at that. I always tell my mentor that, my business mentor, that I was an idiot until I was 40. And she said to me one day, she says, well, you must be kidding about that. I said, no, I was an idiot until I was 40. When you have a traumatic experience at a young age, you stay that age until you are able to get the help that you need. And I had very traumatic experiences from age 10 to age 18. And then I married an alcoholic who, after 16 years of mental abuse with me and our children, beat me unconscious and blamed the whole thing on me. So when you go through those things, it's very hard to grow up, but you have to do it. And I did 3 very important things that helped me grow up and put me in a position that I could actually help other people to be able to get past their abuse. A lot of women and men get rid of their abuser, but then they don't know how to live their life. And that was very much my problem. Because once the abuser was gone, I was still 10 years old, because that's when all the bad stuff started happening to me. So I did 3 things. Number 1, I went to Al-Anon. Now, Al-Anon is a group for families of alcoholics who live with or have lived with alcoholism. But there are many, many free counseling groups out there where you can sit and listen to all these other people talk about what they've been through, knowing that you've been through similar things yourself. So when you meet with these people, and I sat for a long time and just didn't talk, I just listened. And no matter who you are, where you are, there's always someone that has a story that makes yours look like a picnic. And I listened to those stories that made my life look like a picnic. And they got out of theirs. Why can't I get out of mine? So that was the beginning for me. I learned those 12 steps, and I learned how to begin to live my life and figure out who I was. Now, the other thing I did was I looked for other help. And I didn't have any money, but I swear God gave me the $40 I needed, and I bought these tapes. And the tapes that I bought was Dr. Dennis Waitley, The Psychology of Winning. What a wonderful man, and what a lot of work, 20 years he put into putting this together. From him and Al-Anon, I began to develop self-esteem on my own. That's the first thing you've got to have any kind of a life, is you have to develop that self-esteem. Once that starts to happen, then other things happen. The other thing was, I never quit going to church. I had nothing to give at church. I was just there trying to heal. But I continued those three things. And as I continued them, sorry, my life started to change. And it took many years. It took me 30 years before I wrote my book. But I wrote that book not as a life story, but as a series of chapters, starting out with what happened to me and what I did to overcome it in each chapter. And then how I finalized putting my life together. That was very important for me to be able to do that. That's something that helps you get closure on your past. You have to stop living in the past, and you have to be able to look at who you are, what you want out of life, how you want your life to be. Once you begin to develop those things, then everything begins to change. Then you have to keep working on yourself. Working on yourself is this lifelong thing. Then you can change your comfort zones. I mean, if you come from a great family and that's your comfort zone, you've got a good one to go back to. But that's only 3% of the people in the United States. So comfort zones are very important. And that's the first thing I had to figure out was, what is my comfort zone? Where is it that I want to be? So once I decide where I wanted to be, then I had to look forward and start to build on that and start to do the things that I needed to do so that I could have the life that I wanted. And it took me a long time. But it doesn't matter how long it takes to get past the past, because once you are, everything's different. You know, and I always say, you know the woman that I am by the car that I drive. And I couldn't do that before. I was always sad. I was a victim for a long time. You have to get over that. But today, I have my own business, and I have the car of my dreams. And I've always had a Mustang. I won't live without Mustangs. I love them. But a few years ago, 5 years ago, I built my own car at the factory. Well, I didn't build it. I let them build it. But I ordered it from the factory. And that car is a symbol of how I've been able to get past the past and get on with my life, no matter what it is. And so that's all I wanted to say is look at what your comfort zone is, figure it out, and then create the comfort zone that you want. Once you've created that, then you have a place to go back to that is absolute joy. And man is that he might have joy. there is joy on the earth. And I don't mean, people throw around the word happiness too much. Joy is something that comes from living the best that you can, being the best that you can, and living your life the way that you want to live it, not the way that somebody else thinks that you should. When you're able to do that, everything changes, and there is joy. I remember somebody at Al-Anon saying that you have to develop an attitude of gratitude for your life as it is today, no matter what it is. If you can't do that, you can't move on. And that's what I had to learn. When my sponsor in Al-Anon said that to me, that was the beginning of me getting it. That I had to work on me. That I had to figure out my life. We are all going to suffer trials while we are on earth, period. I don't care who you are. Trials are not a respecter of persons. They come to everyone. But that doesn't mean you can't get beyond them. And you can't have joy when you're in them. Because there is joy there. And the third step in Al-Anon is to have a higher power and understand that. That is something we all have to understand, that we do have a creator. Life on earth is very short, and we do have a creator. We came here for a reason. And when we leave here, we're going to go back and be with Heavenly Father. Once we understand that, and so many people today in the world are without God, without Heavenly Father, without Jesus Christ. And those are the people that we need to reach and to help. But in yourself, you have to develop that belief in a higher power so that you can work on yourself. Once you do that, everything changes. Everything changes. And I'm so grateful that I finally did this, and I'm so grateful to my friend Joe for making me get out here and do this, and for my mentor Patricia for making me get out here and do this. I want there to be more. I want to keep trying to do this. It won't be daily, but there are a lot of things that need to be said, a lot of people that need that help to find the joy that does exist in everybody's life when they look for it, when they fight for it, when they find it. And so have a good evening, everyone.